So we've talked about cell structures in general, what the essential tasks are for all living cells, and we looked at the two main types of cells, eukaryotic and prokaryotic, some of their features that they have in common and features that are different. Then we looked at different structures of eukaryotic cells. We compared animal and plant cells, and now we're going to take a look at the prokaryotic cell. We'll go over the labeling sheet in class together. Okay, so this is a typical prokaryotic cell. So if you remember, karyo means nucleus and pro means before. So these cells are very simple. Their examples are bacteria and archaea, which are kind of like an ancient form of bacteria. You can think of it that way. So they have very different biochemistries and different genetics. So they're categorized in different kingdoms, different domains. But the thing they have in common is that they're all prokaryotes. So that means that they don't have a nucleus. They're very simple in structure. They don't have complex organelles. They don't have membrane-bound organelles. They're smaller than eukaryotic cells. And so we're going to look at a typical prokaryotic cell. So in a typical prokaryotic cell, there's no nucleus, but the chromosomal material is found kind of in the center, what we call the nucleoid region. So take a closer look at the nucleoid region. So basically it occupies the central region of the cell. It's made up of about 60% DNA with small amounts of RNA and protein, and it has the same function as the nucleus would in a eukaryotic cell. So it directs the activities of the cell. They have a cell wall. So they're similar to a plant in that they have cell walls around their cells, but their cell walls are very different in their nature and their chemistry. So basically it's a rigid layer around the outside of the cell membrane. It has the same functions as the cell walls in plant cells. It provides protection from injury, skeletal support and shape, and it prevents the cell from bursting due to water moving in or due to osmotic pressure. The cell walls of prokaryotes are typically made of what we call peptidoglycans. Peptido refers to protein and glycan refers to sugar. So it has sugar chains that are cross-linked by short protein chains. Let's see if I can get this bigger. Okay, so these purple lines are representing the carbohydrate or sugar backbones, and they are cross-linked by little protein chains, so peptide chains. So peptidoglycans. Also, on a prokaryotic cell, you might find what's called a capsule. So that's kind of the grass-like green. The bright green is the cell wall, but outside of the cell wall is the capsule. The cell membrane is on the inside of the cell wall. The capsule is on the outside. So let's take a look at the capsule. The capsule is a slippery slime layer outside the cell. And extensions from the capsule are called pili. We'll talk about them in a minute. Along with the pili, it allows the prokaryotes to stick to or adhere to other cells, so they can stick to each other, but they can also stick to their host cells so that they can colonize them. So that's how they're able to kind of bring about infection. The jobs of the capsule: it prevents drying out or desiccation, since it contains water. It prevents phagocytes of the host, so white blood cells that might come and engulf them and prevents them from doing that. It protects it from being broken down by enzymes of their hosts. And it also can act as a food reserve. So if they're low on food supply, then they can eat their own capsule. If you notice, they have a flagellum. So the flagellum is similar to what we talked about for eukaryotic cells. It's used for locomotion. So it's like a whip-like action that propels it forward. But these shorter ones that kind of look like hair-like structures, you'd think they might be cilia, but they're very different in structure and in function. So we're going to take a look at them. They're called pili. Pilus, singular, pili, plural. So pili are hair-like appendages on the surface of prokaryotes that allow them to stick to, because they're sticky like the capsule, allow them to stick to and colonize their host's cells. Sometimes there's a special pilus that forms. It's called a sexual pilus or a sex pilus, and it allows one of them to join with another and transfer what they call plasmid DNA. We're going to look at that a little closer in another chapter. So here's the sex pilus that forms to join them together so that they can transfer some genetic material called a plasmid that can offer special resistance. Maybe it's resistance to certain chemicals or resistance to certain medications, things like that. So you can very faintly see the pili in this one, and you can see them a little bit darker in this one. So that's what the pili are. And that covers all of the information for this test, for this unit. If you have any questions, remember, you can always email or text or ask me in class. I'll be happy to help you.